going on, everybody? This is Lady Luck here again. Thank you all so much for tuning in and checking out the video. As you all can see in the title, we have some things that we need to cover. And one of the things dealing with Robert Hunt and his, I guess, attempt to try to have uh, the Lansing Journal article taken down or removed. I mean, that's something I've been trying to get to for, a couple weeks. But I'm finally able to get to this topic to be able to discuss this and how disturbing it is that, this attempt was even made from a director of finance against a journalist. And what he did was just egregious and mind boggling. So we're going to talk about that. But I want to start with the Facebook post of the status of Keith Freeman and Louis Pilotop as Lacey, and possibly them deciding on changing their plea. So before we get into that, I want you guys to hit the like button, and I want you guys to just subscribe. The Lady Luck Club is growing. There's great content coming out. I've done a couple posts today regarding just kind of the growth of the channel, the new supporters that are coming into the LLC, and a video I did on Umar Johnson. He's such a con artist, and that's my opinion on it. That he's been cited and hit with a cease and desist order in another state to stop collecting money, and it's just a hot mess, and so is he. But that video is doing so well, so there's going to be more content to come. I actually have some information that I'm going to cover in a video as well this evening. But I want to thank you all for supporting me and for allowing that video to grow. The views on that is crazy. I had no idea Umar Johnson was this popular. So, but yeah, we definitely going to, continue to kind of cover what he's got going on here in the Lady Luck Club. And then, of course, I have some content to put out regarding the Nature Boy series and the Cult of Carbonation or whatever it is now. So make sure you guys hit the like button and subscribe and share the content and consider becoming a member. I was not able to get a members only live in this week like I wanted to, but it's been a lot going on. I had a busy day today. But I definitely am going to get one done, hopefully tomorrow. So, but either way, and let's get to it. I want to thank you all for tuning in. First thing I want to pull up is this post. Now, I don't have Facebook. Okay, just want y'all to know that I do not have Facebook, but I was sent the link to this post, and I was like, "See, I knew it." And if you guys aren't aware, typically I go through, various lawsuit court documents, and two of the court documents, the indictments I've covered on Louis Lacey and Keith Freeman. So it's interesting to see this, that they're now, looks like they're trying to have a change of pace. This is something else. But I did say this would probably happen depending on any additional, evidence that the FBI would gather just from the subpoenas that were served to Thornton and Dalton between last year, April, and this year. So I kind of saw this coming down the pipeline, and I said that in those videos where I covered their indictments. I wouldn't be surprised if they changed their pleas, and it looks like that's what they're trying to do. So, yay! So I don't want to focus on the comments or anything. I just want to get this part in. I did try to look up just some information online to see if this information had been entered as a status update in their docket, but I didn't see anything other than the actual filing. So I think the only way I would be able to see this if I logged into my Pacer account. Federal lawsuits and, of course, these federal charges like this, these indictments, the FBI doesn't release every single piece of information related to these cases. and they never really have. It's not how the FBI operates. They don't just dump out information to the public like that, and for good reasoning. So as you guys can see up here, this was posted on Dalton Politics. I don't have Facebook, so I just get sent this information. Federal court news: Keith Freeman and Louis Lacey are changing their pleas in their bankruptcy fraud cases. Per the federal court, Keith Freeman, this is his case number is 24-CR-00191. Defendant is prepared to enter a change of plea in this case. Accordingly, an in-person change of plea hearing is set for August 12th at 10:30 a.m. And then, of course, Louis Pillow Top Ass Lacey, case number 24-CR-00377. Defendant intends to proceed with a change of plea hearing. Status hearing is set for 9/12/2025 at 9 a.m. This is something else. This is something else. So obviously, the concept of getting a plea deal when it comes to federal charges from the FBI, you have to have valuable information that the FBI are just going to drool over. You can't withhold, you can't lie and make up information or testimony. More than likely, if that be the case, and let's just hypothetically say this is related to the FBI investigation that is still ongoing with the former ex super mayor Tiffany Henyard. Girl, please leave Georgia. Get out my state. You got some issues you're gonna have to deal with very soon, because if they're changing their pleas and they're getting a plea deal, which I knew from the jump with Keith Freeman, considering the fact that he was a whistleblower, that more than likely he would take a plea deal. But if they're changing their plea, they're giving some vital, crucial information regarding at least the FBI investigation against her. That's that connection. And I told you all, if the FBI has to get next to the closest person of their target, they will do that. That is something they've been doing since the inception of the FBI for about a good 5-6 decades. So if it works, don't break it. If it's not broken, don't try to fix it. It's a method that they've always utilized that still works because no one wants to go to prison. So what would be interesting to see if the plea deal still includes some level of time. And I know Louis Lacey, Pillow Top Ass, has more charges than Keith Freeman. So if you guys want to check out my videos where I go over the indictment and just give, my commentary and thoughts on the information, and I, kind of saw this coming with Keith Freeman, but Louis Pillow Top Ass Lacey, I knew flat out. I said, this man used to be the chief of police. The last thing he wants to do is to go to prison and then have to face people he probably helped land in prison. And then, of course, it might be a stigma, but there's some truth to, if you're a former police officer or, law enforcement and you end up in prison or even jail, you got a target on your back. So, it's like the ultimate snitches get stitches type of situation. And it's just going to be fun keeping up with this. So we will be reporting on the hearings that they have coming up. Keith Freeman is in 9 days. Buckle up. It's going to get interesting. And of course, we'll be tuning in to Lacey as well. So this is interesting, y'all. I'm more curious as to what they may have told the FBI to get the FBI to agree to them changing their plea and more than likely accepting a plea deal. But I just, if I had to do a bet or at least, give my theory on if there is a possibility that they could still end up serving time, I would definitely say that Louis Pillow Top Ass could end up still serving some time. What that looks like, I don't know. And I've gone over other cases where the FBI, investigated other people connected to her, and they went to prison and they were given a plea deal for like 5 years. So this is going to be something else. So this make sure we are monitoring this. I might not be able to watch these are federal hearings, so you won't be able to watch it, but it will be interesting to see what comes out of these hearings. And I will definitely be pulling the information from Pacer because that's going to be juicy. So, all right, let's just make sure we keep that in mind and keep a lookout for that stuff there. And then I want to move on over to oh man, Robert Hunt Jr. versus Lansing Journal. I just this article was so disturbing to me, and first came across this on Hannibal is Hungry channel. I was watching. Um, I think they were having a meeting of some sort. Can't remember if it was. I think it was Thornton Township meeting, and of course we all know, Napoleon is you're full of crap. Period. You're full of crap. I've kind of spoken my piece on him at least twice so far, so he knows what he's doing. He's sitting here creating state law to try to give himself, a boost of income. Whether he sponsored it or not is irrelevant because the people that did sponsor that bill, what did they have to gain? So it was for his benefit more so. And, you know, the way he was talking beforehand when he did that interview, I think it was WGN. He did an interview with them and he, was asked about the salary. And of course, he gave this roundabout dumb answer that was just I flat out said it. No, that's messed up. You can sit here and say, well, I don't think it should be, a point of discussion, and it should be based on, what you contribute, and it's no different than a teacher, and I think he said NBA or NFL player. Oh, okay, I knew then. I was like, okay, no, this is about to be a bit of shit. So, but Hannibal then showed this article here from the Lansing Journal. Robert Hunt, you are effing up. I also did a video on him in the lawsuit that he's been named in as a co-defendant as well, and went over that. So you guys can check out those 3 videos with the reading of the indictment for Lacey Freeman and the lawsuit that names Robert Hunt as a co-defendant on my channel, and it'll be under the little SS playlist. Yeah, because people have an issue with me saying super stupid. I don't really care, but whatever. Whatever. So this says Thornton Township Finance Director Robert Hunt denies takedown attempt of Lansing Journal articles. This came out. This came out on July 21 of 25. Evidence indicates his involvement. Request for comment remains unanswered. If you're not doing anything wrong, why not respond to them? That's my whole thing. If you're doing something you believe to be justified, why not just respond? So I'm not going to read the entire article because, we here in the LLC, we do read, but I still want you guys to be able to read this information as well for yourself. And then, you can provide your thoughts and comments in the comments below of the video. But I'm just going to kind of go from the top and then go to the email or there's a document or something they received. So let's get to it. On July 11, 25, the Lansing Journal received notifications about 2 Thornton Township articles we had published, one by myself and one by managing editor Carol Shawarko. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. The first 2 bullet points, what are we hiding? Thornton Township residents asked Tiffany Henyard for the numbers. This was published on April 13, 24. Questions left unanswered at Thornton Township annual regular meetings, published on April 10, 25. So these are the 2 articles that they received notifications that were, I guess, some attempt to have taken down. Notifications came from Cloudflare, and this is the web security platform that helps protect the Lansing Journal's website. Cloudflare notification said that someone had filed a DMCA copyright infringement complaint. A copyright infringement complaint. So the first question would be, does Robert Hunt own these articles? That would be my first question. Does he have, rights to these two articles? And I'm going to go over DMCA laws, but I wanted to get this article in because I just find this astonishing. So the complaint was filed by an expert takedown service in Pakistan. Service claimed to be doing so on behalf of Robert Hunt, the director of finance in Thornton Township. And then they have the reported URLs here. And he has it on here, original work, Robert Hunt, Thornton Township. And he knows that he has not published any journals for Lansing Journal. No articles or anything for Lansing Journal. He's not an employee, never has been, never will be. So why would you try to claim their articles as your original work? So it says requesting confirmation. They emailed Hunt on Friday, July 11th to ask if he filed a complaint about the two articles. He did not reply, because coward and all. No one should be thinking that this man is being bullied when he does low down, dirty shit like this. No one's bullying you, boy. This is ridiculous. Once again, please check out the video I did on him being named as a co-defendant in a lawsuit, and you will get an understanding of how he operates and the decisions that he makes and the things he's willing to participate in that landed him in a lawsuit, a federal lawsuit. So, wait, no, it was under Cook County Court, Circuit Court. So no, it wasn't a federal, but it probably should have been, because this is what he's doing, and he was named in the FBI subpoenas as well. So when he's consistently showing that he's willing to aid in this, just egregious behavior, this is so. Why would you file the DMCA takedown for two articles on the Lansing Journal website? Yeah, okay. So they called Thornton Township on Monday, July 14, and asked if Robert Hunt was available. When I was connected with him, I think this is Melanie that wrote this. I never knew the other. Yeah, Melanie Jongsma. I never knew the other lady's name, but I know there is always two of them at the meetings, and they record, the meetings and post them up on their YouTube channel. So make sure you guys go check out their YouTube channel as well. And they asked if he was available. When I was connected with him, I said I was following up on the email I had sent the previous Friday. I asked Hunt if he had filed a copyright infringement notice against the Lansing Journal. He denied doing so. So, he just lied. I don't know anything about this, Hunt told me. Now, I will say there is a difference in him denying, saying, no, I did not do this, versus him saying, I don't know anything about this. Because me personally, I pay attention to the terminology and the words that are being used. So if this is what he said, he's not necessarily denying it, but you do enough digging, you end up, having the chips fall where they may, and it ends up leading back to the lying ass person that he is. So he don't know anything about this. That was his weak response to this. So they, of course, receiving escalation later the same day, the Pakistan-based takedown service sent a second round of notifications after she asked him if he knew anything about it, and he said, I don't know anything about it. Asking him if he was the one that did the actual copyright infringement notice. He don't know anything about it. And then all of a sudden, same day later on, they get a second round of notifications signing them as the authorized representative in the case, referencing the same articles these emails read, and authorized is spelled incorrectly. So I've done a video, just to give you guys a heads up before we read this, on phishing emails. And phishing emails are a type of scam, basically, where you have the scammers trying to get information, or they're doing fraudulent things like this. So the abuse of a DMCA takedown from some random Pakistan-based takedown service, and then they're misspelling words, to me, that screams phishing email. That just, to me, it just stands out like that. So it says here, I am writing to formally request the removal of an article published on your website. This article contains serious allegations, misleading narratives, and speculative language that could damage reputations without presenting verified evidence. It appears to promote a one sided view of internal matters within the Thornton Township administration, which may be harmful and defamatory. I respectfully request that you review the content in light of your editorial standards and fact checking policy. What? That doesn't make sense. So now you have, a grammar issue here. And now you have what just doesn't even flow with the statement, your fact checking policy. They could just literally say, your process on vetting information, fact checking policy. I've just never heard a policy be termed fact checking. Remove the article or issue a public correction retraction if the claims cannot be verified. What you did not see are the actual citing of the claims itself. They have yet to actually state what the actual statements are that they're alleging to be defamatory. They're not going to retract the entire article. But if it's legitimate, typically you point to the alleged defamatory statements in the article. But this is something they did as a DMCA takedown request. And yet what they're saying here, what they're bringing forth is allegations, misleading narratives, and speculative language regarding a damaging of reputation. That's dealing with defamation and libel. That has nothing to do with copyright infringement. Copyright infringement specifically speaks to someone owning original work and another person is using it without their permission or knowledge or permission. It has nothing to do with defamation itself. Those are two separate laws. I would have questioned this whole thing. I mean, honestly, to me, this screams fraudulent. It just does. So they haven't pointed out what claims they're alleging to be defamatory. So how would anyone know? Just reading this, how would any reasonable person know which statements are defamatory? They never cite it here. This request is made in good faith to prevent the spread of potentially defamatory or misleading information. Please confirm receipt of this message and advise on any further steps required. Sincerely, name withheld, misspelled authorized representative. So there was a instance where I received a similar email and I literally was like, come get your code member. And I did a post on it. And I sent the email over to YouTube, and they stated that there are phishing emails and scams regarding DMC takedown requests. So this isn't even an email that would address a copyright infringement situation, because oftentimes you're claiming someone is utilizing your content without your permission that you are the original owner of or body of work. You can prove that you are the rightful owner of that information or the content, and it will tell you, like for instance, YouTube videos, it will give you a timestamp of the copyrighted information that belongs to someone else. So it's not going to be the entire video. So this is, and I've been on YouTube for almost about 5 good years almost. I've never received an email that looked like this. And the email I posted up was not the same as this. This is, oh, you need to take down an article because, the person that sent me this request is saying that you're trying to damage their reputation. What does that have to do with copyright infringement? So they put an asterisk. I'm not using the person's name in this article because he was helpful and forthcoming, and I don't know what consequences might ensue if I make his name public. I mean, don't have to put his name, but at least put down the company they represent, because otherwise it looks even more fraudulent. I would have. Where's the name of the company? The company's name should not be something that they keep private. I mean, you're supposed to be some sort of takedown service. The last thing you should be trying to do is to keep your company under wraps. Launching investigations since 2020, when we began investing more seriously in our web presence, the Lansing Journal has relied on web consulting services provided by Justin Freed, who has a special passion for small local newspapers and the First Amendment. Upon receiving the DMCA notice, Freed moved quickly to prevent our web host from automatically removing these articles from the site. He responded to Cloudflare's notifications and also contacted our host about the abusive and untrue DMCA complaint issued via Cloudflare, calling it totally bogus. It is bogus. It looks like a fraudulent email. It's no different than those emails you get. Hi, I'm the Prince of Mugando, and I have an uncle that died, and he's inheriting, me $1 billion or something, and I want you to send me 200,000, and I'll send you 5.8 million, and make sure you just send it through a wire or Amazon gift cards. Like this is how fraudulent this screams to me. This is the epitome of a phishing email. Freed and I discussed the situation, expressed doubts that Robert Hunt was actually involved. It didn't make sense to me that Hunt would hire a takedown service to remove 2 Lansing Journal articles that were not even critical of him. They had nothing to do with him. Robert Hunt sitting here invoking himself in matters where he does not belong, you uninvited meddler. But yet and still, he can't explain numbers that he's creating in a budget report. So you're sitting here trying to have some article taken down, but you can't make sense of numbers in budget reports when you're the director of finance, and the articles weren't even about you. So what the hell is wrong with you? It's so asinine, it makes no sense. I'm laughing because this has to be the dumbest thing that I've heard Robert Hunt do thus far, amongst the other dumb things that I've read about in a lawsuit where he's the co-defendant in a separate video. I'm not even surprised at this point. It seems like Napoleon and people like, Robert Hunt, they're just willing to do whatever to keep. I mean, let's be honest. Napoleon is not going to fire Robert Hunt. I don't think Napoleon wants to take the risk of bringing in someone else new, and then that person decides to have some level of integrity, and they end up spilling the beans on what the hell he's doing. So I don't think that he's going to fire Robert Hunt, because then he would have to go through the trouble of finding someone else that he can trust to do his bidding, or at least not give him pushback. And it is just, it's disgusting. So Free did some investigation, encouraged me to contact the takedown service directly. This is the Pakistan-based takedown service now. Okay, I want y'all to keep that in mind. This takedown service offers a number of packages at different prices. Are y'all smelling the Ponzi scheme of it all yet, or what? You come across these packages that they sell in Ponzi schemes, and it's not like not necessarily investing to get money back, but selling of these packages it just screams fraudulent in and of itself. For $180, for example, a client can provide 6 infringing URLs to be reported as DMCA violations and takedown. So it's like $30 per URL. You get 6 total. Robert Hunt, what's 30 times 6? No, better yet, what's 180 divided by 6? I'll wait for you to do that math on a calculator. When the service provider told me Robert Hunt was the person who had hired him, is this a company or an individual? I asked Robert Hunt. He said he had not filed a complaint. Yeah, because he's a liar. The man then shared this screenshot of messages he had received from a Fiverr account in Robert Hunt's name. The messages indicate a series of URLs R. Hunt Jr. is asking to be removed, including one of the Lansing Journal articles I had received notifications about. And look at this, Robert Hunt, you lied like hell. You got your name picture here, this link. If you were truly innocent, you know what he would have said. No, I didn't have your videos, your articles taken down. What's going on? Nope, I didn't do that. And I hope you can you send me evidence of this? Because I need to report this person for using my identity. But no, he didn't do that. I don't know anything about that. Oh, okay. All right. So from what we see here, this is your face, this is your account. And since you can't say flat out, no, I did not do that, and actually show proof and evidence that you did not have anything to do with this, because you just screaming foul and someone, stole my information, at this point will not work as a viable excuse, because you never rendered that before. This is something else. Was this a text message? This is the Fiverr post. I don't know anything about Fiverr. But you guys can see here, 6:57 a.m. Shouldn't you be in bed? You sending these messages at 6:56 a.m., 6:57 a.m., Facebook groups, and in the links. Then you got this article. It's 7 something in the morning. You sending these links. All right, so they blurred out the other URLs Hunt asked to remove, as well as the profile image of the service provider who responded. Okay. I wouldn't blur that person out, because I mean they are screaming scammer in and of itself. The screaming scammer. Wanting to verify the source of the messages, I looked up R. Hunt Jr. on Fiverr and found an account that was established in December 2018. Shows his photo and local politician as a title. Was he not trustee then? Yeah, he was. He served as trustee in Dalton. Wow. Robert Hunt, you are the worst. Wanting explanation. All right, screenshot provided by takedown service seems like incontrovertible evidence that Thornton Township Finance Director Robert Hunt hired a service to file a claim against the Lansing Journal in an effort to remove 2 articles of all the articles they've ever done, 2 of them on activities of our local government. Even so, I reached out to Hunt again on July 16 to see if he would provide some context. I let him know I was working on an article about the complaints he had filed and then denied. I asked him to help me understand the messages I had received. As of this writing, Hunt has not responded, though he is welcome to. And then she put her email there. You might want to start saying something, because this is ridiculous. You should literally be reported for this. Freed believes it's important to take a stand in the face of tactics like this, regardless of how petty they seem. It's deeply troubling that a public official would so cravenly abuse the DMCA system. Freed texted me, thanks to the Lansing Journal's perseverance and the steadfast support of our technology partners, we were able to protect critical coverage of Thornton Township government and uphold the essence of the First Amendment. And then he added, this is why I do the work that I do. So they go into some information about Freed. Is based in New Jersey. Addressing residents, he said, as a member of this community and consumer of local news, ask yourself, why would you, a public official, go to such lengths to silence journalism, local journalism? Lansing Journal is committed to continuing our coverage of public meetings in Thornton Township and other public boards elected to serve the public good. Have they not been deemed the primary journalists that record the meetings? It sounds like Napoleon probably appointed them to be like the go-to journalists because of this. Not saying that they don't deserve it, but it's just, was that given to them just to try to keep this under wraps? This is so blatant and obvious and just direct. And then he lied. He lied like hell, and he has yet to respond. That screams guilt, Robert Hunt. He's not that smart. The boy is not that bright. The next Thornton Township meetings, 3 budget hearings, and a regular board meeting scheduled for July 22, beginning at 5. So, like I said, this article was put out back on, I think let's go back on the 21st. They did their due diligence. They tried to figure out, okay, what's going on. They got evidence to show that he paid someone. This came from that so-called takedown service, which to me still seems fraudulent in and of itself either way. But I want to share this information. This is DMCA laws here. So this is just a quick Google search that I did on Digital Millennium Copyright Act. DMCA is a U.S. copyright law enacted in 1998 that addresses copyright issues in the digital age, providing protections for copyright owners and establishing safe harbors for online service providers. Here's the key provisions of it. Now I want you all to take note that none of these provisions say anything about taking down an article due to defamation. It deals strictly with copyright infringement of content. So if you read the notice and takedown system, safe harbors, the anti-circumvention measures, increased penalties, copyright claims board, you don't see anything about I'm filing a copyright infringement because of potentially threatening, damaging information to one's character or reputation. That's a totally separate law. That's dealing with defamation laws, not copyright infringement. So what does copyright infringement have to do with this? If you just read this email here, this is what they said. Robert Hunt, you don't get to have articles taken down abusing DMCA laws because of what you are calling, with no evidence, no statements pointed out. If it were, a YouTube video, no timestamps on the video, nothing specific to say what the allegation or misleading narrative or language is that could possibly be damaging. But here's another, point to note. This person is not an attorney either. So how do they dictate what is defamatory? YouTube is not court, right? So you don't sit here and say, take down this video because it's potentially damaging. No, we can go duke that out in the court of law if you want. That's a matter of the First Amendment, free speech, not copyright infringement. Two totally different laws here. So, like I said, if you read this information here, the safe harbor provisions protect OSPs. The OSP is the online service providers from liability for copyright infringement. The DMCA prohibits the circumvention of technological, I'm sorry, I'm tongue-tied, technological protection measures, TPMs, that copyright owners use to protect their works. You don't see anything in here about defamation. The DMCA heightened penalties for copyright infringement. This is all dealing with copyright infringement. So what proof did Robert Hunt show that he was the rightful owner of the original work of those 2 articles again? Because no one cares how the hell you feel about something being said about someone else. If it's a political, figurehead of some sort, they are subjected to criticism. But it's done under the First Amendment. And you going around trying to have articles removed is disgusting and deplorable behavior. And it's also an abuse of power. No one cares if Napoleon or even Tiffany Henyard liked anything that was said about them when it was the truth, when it could be supported with facts and documentation, laws, evidence. This whole, no one's wanting anything to be said about them when they're a political figurehead of some sort. But they want to sit here and talk about, you guys are just, clickbait. That's the whiniest nonsense I've ever seen. What a crybaby. But this has nothing to do with DMCA, Robert Hunt. First Amendment defamation has nothing to do with DMCA. Two totally different laws. You would think someone would have just Googled that and told him that. Or he would just research the information himself and admit what he did wrong. If someone told him to do it, he could have just easily said that. You know what? I did this, but I did this because Napoleon told me to do it. Or Tiffany Henyard told, well, this is July 21st. This is after Napoleon became supervisor. So yeah, I did this because Napoleon told me to do it. And I was just following orders. I mean, even with that shitty ass, excuse, it's still better than saying I don't know anything about this and then just ghosting them and never responding. But the audacity to get upset when people are pointing out that you were wrong and you're abusing DMCA laws to have articles taken down that paint someone in a bad picture when it's still a factual based article. I don't foresee the Lansing Journal just flat out lying. They can give their personal opinion. They have the right to do that. They don't have to like or agree with everything Napoleon does. No one does. No one owes him that. But to sit here and weaponize a law that will be irrelevant to what this email said from a Pakistan-based takedown service, get out of here. That just screams fraud. What's the name of the company? I have many questions. Hopefully someone sends this over to Lansing Journal and they can leave in the comment section what is the name of the company. Or they can email it to me. LadyLuckClubLLC at yahoo.com. Because this is so fishy. All of this screams fraud. It just screams fraud. Then they got packages they offer. Yeah, that's fraud. This is crazy. So, you got a weirdo that, sat here and decided to do this. And here's the misuse of DMCA takedown notices, censorship over copyright protection. This is an article from Lawyers for Enterprise, Marks Gray. So it goes over, of course, the DMCA established in 98 to help regulate usage of copyrighted material on the internet. It was meant to increase protection for both copyright holders and create a safe harbor for internet service providers. How does DMCA copyright protection work? You guys can, read this, read over this if you want as well. The DMCA was designed to incentivize businesses to both honor copyright licensing and stymie copyright infringement on the web. Please explain to me, Robert Hunt. Please explain to me, what the hell does this email that you paid someone $180 potentially? You know what? 180 divided by 6. And then divide that by 2. It just, you pay someone, either if it's $60 total, to send over this email that has nothing to do with copyright infringement, defamatory or misleading information. What the hell? But I can guarantee you, no one, Napoleon nor Robert Hunt, looked at DMCA laws, because, they claim to be so smart and all. This is ridiculous. So the process generally goes as follows. A copyright owner, to which Robert Hunt did not prove he was the owner of, notices that their intellectual property is being used on a website without their permission, whether it be a song, photo, piece of writing. Copyright holder sends a DMCA takedown notice to the service, usually the owner of the website like YouTube, asking them to remove the material that infringes on the copyright. You got to prove that you are the actual owner of the original work. On a website with users, the service then informs the infringing user of this infringement claim. Once again, where is the actual infringement in this email from this fake ass authorized representative? This is crazy as hell. This is crazy as hell. So here's some examples they have below. I'm just going to scroll down. And they just give some examples of these fake claims of plagiarism through backdated articles. Some organizations create an article, make it seem as if it were posted earlier than a real piece, and send a DMCA notice to the person who posted the legitimate piece. So in this situation with Lansing Journal, they created their articles Robert Hunt went paid somebody through Fiverr, a Pakistan-based takedown service. Said, please take down these two articles and tell them that it's defamatory and misleading, without citing what parts of the article is even defamatory. Robert Hunt is not an attorney either, so for him to just say, this needs to be taken down because I'm claiming that it's defamatory and misleading, is just, no judge in a court of law would give two shits about that. He hasn't even proven that he's the actual owner of the articles itself. God. Oh man. So you guys can check out these other examples here, and just to show what DMCA abuse looks like. And then of course, Napoleon, if you telling him to do dumb stuff like this, my question would be to Robert Hunt, when you gonna grow a spine and stop acting as if you're at the mercy of these supervisors there and can't make your own decisions? Why would you allow them to use you to do things that would be considered illegal? They could take you to court and sue you over this. If the Lansing Journal wanted to sue Robert Hunt, they could, and they would win, just for pissing them off. I agree with this free guy, that they mentioned, that said, this is, what did he say? This, I'm gonna go back up. He said he was basically saying something needs to happen here. No matter how it looks petty. There you go. He believes it's important to take a stand in the face of tactics like this, regardless of how petty they may seem. Melanie trying to throw a jab. That's a good one. Because this was petty as hell. But what you did was also misuse the law itself. And I guarantee you, if anything would have happened, Napoleon would not sit here and stand by your side, because when it comes down to it, you still can't prove that you were the original author of those articles and that those articles were your original work. So you would be left out to hang dry, and you would have that coming to you. That's what you get. Now I wanted to pull up this information here, and this is going to be the last of it, because I was trying to, since I don't see the name of that Pakistan-based takedown service, I was trying to find some information on it, because like I said, it just screams fraud to me. It just screams fraudulent. So I just did a Google search, Pakistan-based takedown service, and I came across this information. Now, I'm not saying that this particular Pakistan-based, takedown service is the same that has been investigated by this is coming from the U.S. Attorney's Office in the District of Arizona. And 7 defendants are part of a national healthcare fraud takedown. And I put in Pakistan-based. So this individual, 41, of Pakistan, was charged with indictment with conspiracy to commit healthcare fraud and wire fraud. Here's another individual named. Like I said, I don't see the name of the person that Melanie reached out to, or the name of the company, but there are a few articles that address this FBI. I guess there was an investigation that was done, and people were charged. Here's another article here. This is Security Guard magazine. International operation takes down Pakistan-based the manipulators cybercrime group. Now, this was dated back to January 31, 25. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was the same type of scheme or scam that was investigated here. This is also on the Department of Justice website about this particular group, the manipulators. And what they did, basically, they sent out phishing, spam emails, tried to gather information using, of course, technical infrastructure. Had certain brands you guys can see here: Heart Sender, Foot Page, Foot Tools. This targeted 39 servers containing millions of victims' records worldwide, in the U.S. and in Dutch, and to Dutch citizens. And basically use platforms to send out, phishing emails, other tools to gather, private information. So I'm wondering if this Pakistan-based company is doing something similar to this, where they're utilizing these platforms like Cloudflare to send out these fraudulent takedown request emails here. And they're charging people these packages, which is just screams fraudulent in and of itself. That's kind of like the epitome of a Ponzi scheme. They have these packages available where you can just pay them some money, send an email, and have somebody's link, or just send an email threatening to take down someone's link. And at the end, probably don't have the power or authority to do that. Right? I think this is more so to invoke some sort of fear in the Lansing Journal, and not necessarily it doesn't deal with copyright infringement at all. It's more so about some defamation and misleading information. But if Robert Hunt paid these people $60 to $180 to do this, then, and this is just my theory here, this was solely done to just threaten them, as if they needed to take it down, which I'm glad they didn't, because that in and of itself is a scam. The scam is, we're going to operate as some company and lie about being able to take down people's content if you pay us X amount of dollars, and we'll remove, up to 6 articles. But they collect the money and they never ever remove the articles. That's fraud. So they're basically just taking people's money to do something they know they can't do. So that's my thoughts on this. I think this is a scam, personally. And even if Robert Hunt aided in this, I mean, why would he not look at this email himself and say, what the hell? This just screams fraudulent in nature. I wouldn't put it past him that he may have been aware that this could be a scam. But the fact that he did pay someone to try to take down these URLs and lied about being the original, copyright holder of these articles is enough in and of itself that will give, the Lansing Journal a good case if they wanted to sue his ass. But I think the Pakistan-based company itself, they were polite because they just didn't want to get caught, Melanie. I don't think they're real. I don't think they can actually take down an article or video or anything based on a DMCA complaint. I think they're just charging people money and lying to people and telling them that they can do this. And they're just, they'll take your money, send this email, but that's where the buck stops. That's where the bus stops, right there. And they can't do anything past that point. And if they try, they may have to tap into the programming software to try to do it on the back end. But I don't think that this Pakistan takedown, so I don't think this service here is actually capable of removing the URLs. I think the goal is just to send the email to be threatening to get you to take it down. And they're just taking people's money for it. So that's my 2 cents on this. You guys let me know what you think. I didn't mean for this video to be this long, but I just want to kind of get through that information so you guys can see my thought process on this and the research that I did. This screams, fraudulent activity. And, hopefully you guys see this now moving forward and you can look at these emails, especially where they have all this misspellings and it's not grammatically correct, and you can report it as fraud. And if you decide, Lansing Journal, to sue Robert Hunt Jr., you would be entitled to do so and you would win in court. All right. That's just my opinion on that. Not an attorney, but I think you would have a very clear-cut case if you decided to take legal action. And if he's doing dumb shit like this, you probably should. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hit the like button. Make sure you share this video and subscribe here to the Lady Luck Club. We are growing, and consider becoming a member as well. Thank you all so much. Ways to donate to the channel will be in the description of the video below, along with products for Dr. Squatch that you can purchase. I do get a percentage, basically commission for products that are sold. So please consider purchasing some products from Dr. Squatch. And I appreciate you guys. And until the next one, Lady Luck Club out. Deuces.